Thank you, Joe, and thank you for that informative presentation on the state of the market these days. I think we've definitely seen a big shift in trading from the active to passive management of funds, and companies like ours were affected often by machines rather than by fundamentals. So it is somewhat frustrating at times, and had a little laugh while I was sitting here thinking about Joe's presentation. A friend of mine recently sent out an email showing what the state of the market with a few kangaroos, and it's a really good, really good email that if you see it, we should put it on the screen and everybody can see what the passive investment's like. That said, introduce our company. Premier is a producing gold company. We have several projects. In some ways, I'd say we're a bit of the prospect generator type company. We're active in North America, very active in terms of different assets, and we have several partnerships. And we are a growing producer. Over the next several years, we will see multiples of production from what we're seeing today as we build out our assets. Standard disclaimer statement, I urge everybody to look at that, take a read. It's talking about forward-looking statements. I think this slide is a good slide to introduce our company. Premier has 7 active projects. We're entirely in North America. We have projects in Ontario, Canada, Nevada, both in the Carlin Trend and the Battle Mountain Trend in Nevada, and also in Mexico. I think we've assembled a project portfolio that offers our shareholders great security in terms of jurisdictional risk. We are in some of the top gold camps you'll find anywhere in the world. In fact, Nevada has seen production to date of well over 200 million ounces of gold. And if Nevada were its own country, I believe it'd be number 4 or number 5 in terms of production. And part of what Joe mentioned, this Barrick and Newmont bun fight that's going on is really to consolidate the Carlin Trend, arguably the most productive gold district anywhere on the planet, and we are the only other producer in that district. In terms of production, we have 2 producing assets. The South Arturo project with Barrick is undergoing 2 active mine construction projects, so we will see production there ramp up at the end of this year on the first of the 2 mines we're building, and late next year we'll see the open pit come online. We're also permitting 2 additional projects that we expect to develop in the coming years, and with the development of those, we will see our production grow from what we expect to be less than 100,000 ounces this year to 300,000 to 400,000 ounces in the coming years. So, and we will grow entirely organically. In terms of our current ability to fund that, we do have over 80 million in cash in Canadian dollars, so about over 60 million in cash today to fund our current growth. And we also have a revolver facility that gives us access to another 50 million US. So in terms of cash and liquidity, we have approximately 110 to 120 million US available. In terms of putting our dollars to good use, we've grown our reserves significantly over the past several years. In fact, at the end of 2015, so in 2016 when we released our reserves and resources, we had approximately 5 million ounces in all categories. We've grown that over the past several years. We've doubled that to over 10 million ounces, and we've taken our reserves, so the reserve portion, the most secure part of our resource base, from under 200,000 now to about 3 million. So I believe that we have done a really good job with our acquisition strategy and with our exploration portfolio. One thing I do have to do is, Joe told me, speak fast because we've got a lot to talk about. So I'll jump right into South Arturo in Nevada. It is a project in the Carlin Trend. We own 40%, Barrick owns 60%. The project, as you can see in this image, is at the northern part of the Carlin Trend. In blue is the joint venture we have with Barrick, and to the south of us is the largest mines of both Newmont and Barrick that comprise all of those red areas you see there. In fact, the Goldstrike mine, we're a satellite operation to Goldstrike. The Goldstrike mine has over production reserves of well over 65 million ounces. So it's very rare on this planet that you find deposits of this scale. And immediately south of that is Newmont with their flagship Leeville mine and the Carlin and Genesis, et cetera. So right now, in order to remain relevant, which seems to be the order of the day, these companies are talking about, or Barrick's trying to consolidate mainly this jurisdiction. And we are, as I said, the only other producer, and in fact, the only other company other than Barrick and Newmont that actually holds property in the core part of the Carlin Trend. On that property, we are developing currently 2 mines, the El Nino underground mine, as it's called, and our phase 1 open pit operation at the in that blue block. And we also recently acquired 100% owned property that we're optioning called Rodeo Creek that we'll be working this year. And based on what we're learning next door at South Arturo, we believe that the structures that we're currently drilling could trend onto that property, and we'll be testing those later this year. The phase 2 pit, which we depleted in 2017, and we're currently still processing a little bit of the stockpile from that, in 2017 as a pure gold mine without byproducts, was listed as the lowest cost producing mine in the world with all-in sustaining costs of $351 an ounce. So very high margin gold. The cash flow that we generated from that operation is what we're using to build our 2 mines right now. In this image here, you'll see to the right, the phase 1 open pit. We mined phase 2 first. Barrick got it a bit out of sequence, so we built phase 2 first. Now we're building phase 1. On the image on the left, you can see there's 3 pits planned. So we mined the one on the right, phase 2, and we're building the one on the left, phase 1. And we're currently working on a plan to develop next the phase 3 mine and also a potential heap leach project. We're permitted entirely for all of these, and Premier is funded to build all with our current cash position. In addition to that, you can see on the lower image on the right, we are currently constructing an underground mine, and we expect the mining of ore to ramp up late in the 3rd quarter of this year and processing late in the year. The phase 1 open pit that you see in the upper image is currently being stripped. It'll be stripping will continue throughout this year and into next year. And right now we're running what we call a test. It is the first mine, open pit mine in North America that is being constructed and using, or hard rock open pit mine that is using entirely autonomous trucks. So all the trucks that we have running in that pit don't have people in them. So it's quite a good program we're participating in with Barrick. In terms of other production other than the Carlin Trend, we own 100% of the Mercedes mine. It's an underground operation in Mexico. We acquired this operation from Yamana. We did have a few challenges. When we bought it, Yamana was just building a new deposit called Diluvio. We completed the construction of that, accessed ore late in 2017, and found that the geometry of the ore zone, based on the interpretation from surface drilling, was different than what we found when we drove our drift into it. And so in early 2018, we stopped mining entirely. Our costs in Q2 went up to over $1,300 an ounce, and we were punished by the market for that. However, we did start mining Diluvio in mid-3rd quarter, and our 3rd quarter costs dropped by more than $300 an ounce on an all-in sustaining basis. And we'll be releasing our costs for Q4 next week, and you'll see another drop in our costs. So we've been very successful at turning the operation around. And one of the main things that we bought the project for is the fact it's not a super high grade underground mine. It's about 4 grams per ton. But on strike from the higher grade deposits that were mined previously, we do have indications that the main mine trend continues down plunge. Drill intercepts in this zone suggest the grades of Marianas are about twice the average grade of our current reserves. We just started drilling underground. We are driving an underground decline towards that zone. We expect to complete about 20,000 meters of drilling at Marianas this year, move it into reserves, and hopefully begin mining this year. And with the addition of Marianas into our mine plan, we expect the mine will have a lot more flexibility than what we see today, and we should really be able to stabilize operations starting next year. So we're really looking forward to this project. Initial drilling has been quite positive in the early part of the deposit, and we will be releasing more data for this. In addition to our mining projects, we have 2 projects in permitting. One of the key properties is in Nevada. Our Cove, McCoy Cove property in the Battle Mountain Trend. This image here, you can see immediately we're to the north of us and adjoining our property is Newmont's Phoenix Mine. I guess I've got to talk really fast now. And in the blue block, we own approximately 50 square miles of property. We recently did a deal with Barrick where Barrick is earning into that property. So we are, in red, we own 100% of that block. So we kept the main deposit. The Cove deposit is currently one of the highest grade, plus 1 million ounce gold deposits that you'll find in North America. The grade is just over 11 grams, and we are in full permitting. However, we did need processing arrangements, so we've recently entered into an agreement with Barrick for some of the processing, and in that, they're earning into the surrounding property, and this property will be our biggest exploration project that we'll see in 2019. Our plan is to develop a high-grade deposit that's situated immediately beside the pit, and if all goes well, we expect to start driving the underground decline in the third quarter of this year, which will make 3 projects under construction for our company and significant growth in our production profile going forward. And lastly, we have our Greenstone property in Canada. It's our largest project in our portfolio that's undergoing full permitting right now. It's a partnership with Centerra where we're currently fully funded. Centerra is carrying the project for 2019 and into 2020. It's approximately 9 million ounces in open pit and underground, and we expect to have both federal and provincial approvals by middle of this year. So it'll be one of the largest near permitted projects that you'll find on a highway in North America. And we also do have exploration projects in Red Lake in Nevada that will continue to advance that we hope will become our mines of the future. So as a summary, we're a company that is growing production, growing our reserves and our resources, and in the future we expect to see significant growth in our company's cash flow that will fund continued development. So sorry for going over time, Joe, but I talked as fast as I could. Thank you.